Jerusalem, Israel. This is Mr. Lowell Joseph Gallen, founder of the Root and Branch Association Limited, established in the United States of God of Israel, bless America, in 1981 in New York State, now celebrating our 42nd year. Today is Monday, April 17th, 2023 in the Gregorian calendar, and it is the 26th day of the new Israelite Hebrew first month of Nisan in the Hebrew Israelite year of 5783. The year 5783 is counted from the seventh month, Tishrei, when we celebrate the creation of the world on Rosh Hashanah. But the months are counted from the month we go out of Egypt, which was Nisan. That's why it's the first month, but it's the year 5783, which begins in the seventh month of the previous year. Welcome to episode 13 of our monthly Root and Branch Association seminar entitled Ancient Roots Mothering, Roots, Nettles and Sage, co-chaired by Mrs. Chava Dagan of the Northern Negev, Israel, Mrs. J. Rivkah Asoulin of the Galilee, Israel, and Mrs. Gilla Weiss of Boca Raton in Florida in the United States of God of Israel, bless America. And we welcome as a guest, Miss April Bauer from Beersheba, Israel. Excuse me, I see a head covering, Mrs. April Bauer. And Carol A. joining us from somewhere, I'm not sure yet where. So I'm going to hand over the mic in a moment to our chair, co-chair Rivkah, who is going to share a video she has. And since after that I'll be in the gallery, let me do my rainmaking bit now, which I will do at the end. Please support the work of Chava, Gilla, and Rivkah. You will have links to their websites below, their books, their videos. There's honey from the farm in the northern Negev of Chava. There's herbs. There's all sorts of wonderful things. It's a potpourri, a wonderful, magical garden. Please support their work. Click on the links below. And please support yours truly's work to build our Hebrew Bible-based Fifth Israelite Monarchy broadcasting network from Jerusalem, Israel, to honor the God, land, Torah, and people of Israel and all humanity. Regarding the Fifth Israelite Monarchy, please see the biblical book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 44, and the commentaries. Ladies, it's all yours. I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lo Aryeh. I'm going to play a very short clip in just a moment.
The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
A very quick video today, but very poignant. I'm a big Tolkien fan. But besides being a big Tolkien fan, this is exactly what we talk about. The days have come where the earth has changed so much, and those who remembered how it once was are no longer remembering. They've forgotten. And so that is what we are doing. That's what we're doing every month in our seminar. That's what we're doing in our individual and collective work, is reminding all of us how it's done, how it was always done. Some things should change and some things should remain the same. So today we are discussing squeaky clean. Squeaky clean. We all have private practices and we all lecture and we all teach. And when we got together for our last meeting to discuss this show, One of the things that Gilla brought up, and we all were, right away could understand what she was talking about, was people talking about cleanliness, eating clean, the clean days. If we're talking about Tarat HaMishpacha, my clean days. Am I nursing clean? Clean, 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 clean. Everything's clean. Clean is good. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Sanitary, clean, clean, clean. And today we are here to tell you that life is not squeaky clean. It's just not. And that's okay. Not only is it okay, but that's how our ancient ancestors did it. We live in a closed, our creator designed a closed ecosystem where all the wastes of one section are the, productive parts of another. For example, I have chickens, thanks to my colleague and friend Chava over there. And my chickens poop. And I could just kind of scoop away the poop and put it in the garbage and, ew, it's not clean. But I'd be missing out on all of the incredible properties of chicken poop that fertilize the earth, grow herbs, vegetables, grow the garden, make my soil very fertile. And I think in Chava's group, in Nettles and Pins, or in Ancient Roots Israel, on one of our groups on Telegram, there was a woman talking about how she's on bedrock and she's got no dirt, and how do I grow like this? And yet humanity has thrived on different types of terrains for millennia, since the beginning of time. Hashem wouldn't give us a situation where we can't live, especially in Eretz Israel, where we can't farm or grow food or survive. There must be a way to do it. And so the question is, how? How do we do all this stuff? So let's talk about why cleanliness is not necessarily godliness. It might be the opposite. Why dirtiness is part of the design. It's plugged into the design by our creator in order to create what we need to create. So Gilla or Chava, do you want to jump in from there?
I'll go, since we're already talking about farming. So germs and breast milk and poop and bodily fluids and dirt and animal hair, right? Where I'm working with sheep and goats and horses and chickens all the time. And if you want to remain sterile, you can't interact with your farm, your animals, your dirt, your vegetables. Pulling carrots out of the ground, they're covered in mud. What do we do? I don't want to touch it. So these are kind of things that for thousands of years, it was so natural and normal. Put your hands on your animals, put your hands in the dirt, not to be scared of what comes out of your body. It's part of us, like Rivkah said, a closed ecosystem. Let's be proud of it. Let's not be ashamed of it. But throughout very recent times, we've kind of been taught to be scared, fear, and be very disconnected from ourselves, from our world, from our animals, from everyone that we live around. I happen to have a farm, and we have eggs, we have milk, and I will offer to people who come over, would you like to taste the milk? Would you like to go and gather the eggs? And it's like, is it pasteurized? Has it been sterilized? No, it hasn't. And so many people will walk away from that because they are scared. Someone told me the other day, oh, but there's polio everywhere. You can't drink unpasteurized milk. Wait, where does this information come from? But she was literally offended, completely offended that I don't pasteurize my milk. So people have come so far along the line, and it's very heart-wrenching because they're missing out on so much. And there is absolutely no reason to be fearful of these things. We need to connect again. We need to know what real milk tastes like, what it feels to pick up a warm, just laid egg, what it feels to pet our animals and clean up the poop and plant our vegetables and get our hands dirty and not be scared. So we kind of wanted to address this today because it's so important. And the further we get away from this, the closer we get to the AI, computer generated, sterile world that we have no place, there's no place for us, really. It's robots, and that's the end of us. So we want to get back. We want to come back, and we want to embrace again all of these things that we just talked about.
Chava, can you talk a little bit about pasteurization of milk? Because it's what that is for some people who may not know, and also why it might be a good thing that milk is not pasteurized.
Okay. So pasteurization came from Louis Pasteur a long, long time ago, back in the 1700s, I think, or maybe even earlier. He was a scientist, inventor, whatever you want to call them back then. And he noticed that the women milking the animals never got sick from smallpox, I think it was, or some disease, that viral disease that was going around. So he said, oh, it must be because they are in contact with this milk. So he started literally taking experiments on people and injecting them with a needle with this, I don't remember, it was smallpox or the milk itself. I don't remember, something gross, just horrible. It being in places it should never have been, injected into the blood system. And therefore they came up with this wonderful idea that if you do this, it knocks out the viral. It was ridiculous. And in the end, on his deathbed, he realized how wrong he was, and he admitted it. So the idea was, if you knock out bad germs from raw milk, then you will not get sick from whatever it might be carrying. This, of course, is not true if you practice clean handling of the milk and the animals, keep them healthy and clean. Their milk stays uninfected from, just like if we get a cold or a virus, you don't want them to either, because it will go into the milk. If you practice cleanliness, then the milk itself contains enzymes and live good bacteria that can actually digest in the human body. Whereas when it's pasteurized, it's a very, very tough thing for the body to take it in. It has to deal with, first of all, the enzymes are gone, but it has to deal with this very fatty, heavy milk that is really hard to digest. So when you don't pasteurize it, you leave the enzymes, give your body the key basically to the digestion, and you get all of the really good stuff that's coming into it as well. So that's in short.
Gilla, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here enjoying both of you today. Chava, I thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, how informative, right? And literally from a farmer. I love it. So thank you. Everything you said about the milk. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the analogy to our breast milk. You know, if you told a breastfeeding mom, a nursing mama, your milk is not clean to give your baby, which, by the way, in the 50s, this is what they did. We need to sterilize it first. It has bacteria and germs. Most moms would be up in roar and arms and say, get away from my breast and get away from my baby. Don't touch my milk. You know, and again, we talk about it, it's God-given. It is, you know, divinely designed, nature is, and breast milk is perfect as it is. The minute you heat it up or you pasteurize it, you destroy all of those immuno particles and properties, as well as, like Chava said, the live enzymes and the probiotics. So the same thing with the animals. Essentially, pasteurization supposedly gives it an extended shelf life. However, if anybody's ever taken two milks side by side, you can do this experiment with kids. It's really fun. That's how we learn, is getting messy. if you leave 2 bottles of milk, one pasteurized, one unpasteurized, leave them on your counter. They're both sour. However, the non-pasteurized will sour with enzymes and probiotics, and you'll have, soured milk, cultured buttermilk. You'll have the starts of a yogurt or whatever it is. It will be a cultured milk that you can actually use and will be good for you. But the other bottle of the pasteurized milk, once it sours, if you drink that, you're going to have an upset stomach galore. It's going to be very unpleasant. So I think when you do that, that tells you everything we need to know. And, if you think about hundreds, we don't even need to go thousands of years ago. Hundreds of years ago, milk was considered a vital food. Like, you would give it to kids, people who are recovering from illness. It was a building. If you look at tribes in Africa, like the Maasai, they live on really fatty milk. They drink so much milk, probably more milk than most of us. They use the cream, they use the milk, they sour the milk. It's a major part of their culture and their diet. Most of them are very healthy and pretty skinny too. So it really, having a product that is sterilized and cleansed for us means devoid of everything that it's meant to have that jives and vibes and enriches and nourishes our body. And it's all about, again, the clean, the messy and the clean, not having to deal with any of this. In today's day, we spend money, time, energy taking probiotic supplements. Everybody is into it. Doctors have gotten into it. There are studies. The market is overflowing. No, this one, no, that one, take this one, billions, this one, that, the different strains that have been studied. Essentially, probiotics are missing in our diet today, especially the soil organism ones, because we are eating so clean, way too clean. Like Chava said, pull the carrot out and there's dirt on it. What is in that dirt? Soil organisms. You can wash the carrot. You don't have to eat the mud, but just washing it with water, you're still going to have the organism. When you go and irradiate it and put some spray on it to keep it shelf life for goodness knows how long, and then soak it in some solution to really clean it, well, again, you have a vegetable, but you took away half the enzymes and probiotics, So again, we need to dig deep, like we dig for the carrot. We need to dig deep into ourselves. And I don't like to say go out of our comfort zone. I like to say, since these sparks are inside of us, the lost wisdom, we need to step inside of our uncomfortable zone. So we need to, get some courage there and take that step. Pull the carrot out, I dare you, and just gently rinse it, or just knock the dirt off and take a bite. You will get more probiotics than any supplement, no matter how much it costs or what lab it was made in. They're all essentially made in a lab, and you can never emulate what is in the soil. Researchers have been studying our microbiome, and they've only just touched the surface. We know some of the strains, but there are so many more. Natural products from unfermented milk, like milk kefir, for example, contains at least 40 strains that we know of, and more that we don't. Our body comprises so much more. To go and get a product that is clean and sterile and in a nice package with a good price tag, and maybe someone on Instagram with a large following, recommends it. Yay! There we go. That says everything. Thank you, Rivkah. There's Matthew Wood getting his soil organisms.
I couldn't find my unmute, but I wanted to show that. So this is herbalist, internationally renowned herbalist, Matthew Wood at the Ancient Roots Israel 2023 International Herbal Conference. We picked a wild carrot out of the ground on our herbal plant walk. He put that sucker right into his mouth. You can see the mud right on it. This is the way to eat it. Right. You can give it a spit, little, we used to shine our apples, right? Spit on the apple, rub it on your pants, rub it on your sleeve, start eating. Yeah.
So I think we're just terribly conditioned. We all are, all of us, and our kids. Even though I speak, most of my kids were raised to wash their hands before they eat. And there's no reason not to wash your hands before you eat, but our kids naturally don't. And we don't need to hammer it out of them. If they picked a fruit, and I get, this is what I get from people, and I'd love you, Rivkah and Chava, to chime in, is that when I talk to especially moms, they say, but it's different dirt. Why don't you let your kids run in the street after the rain? Well, because it's not the right dirt. There's, there are chemicals there. You're right. Cars went there, there's pesticides from a lawn. But guess what? There's still a lot of good dirt there. And the rain came down and it cleansed a lot of it. And it's okay to go barefoot in a puddle. There is no, in my opinion, yes, we do need to be careful. We are being bombarded by chemicals and toxins on every front. However, if we don't allow ourselves and our kids to run in a puddle in the street, even though cars drive there, they're going to miss out on the balance of the other organisms. There is no such thing as clean dirt. And I get that all the time. Yes, I allow them to play in the dirt because it's clean dirt. No. And that's where the waters get muddy, is this idea of having our kids in the forest. It's clean. The dirt is clean. The street is dirt toxic. So please chime in, because I think that's really what we're dealing with today.
Well, on the washing hands. Okay, there are halakhic times to wash our hands. So we halakhically, that's Jewish law for those who don't speak Hebrew, after we use the toilet. It's a Jewish precept to go and wash your hands and make a blessing after using the toilet, because that's a time that the Creator would like us to wash our hands after we use the toilet. But
how are you washing your hands? Are you washing it with the water cup, or are you washing with sterile alcohol gel that contains a million, so there's a difference.
Also true. So, I know some OCD, obsessive compulsive people and children who are dealing with this. And one of the first things I'll tell them is just wash your hands after you use the toilet with water. Don't even use the soap. Because a lot of times when they get into the soap, it's more soap, and then again, and they've got these dry, cracked, bleeding hands and all. Hashem says we shouldn't be making ourselves bleed, causing ourselves to bleed. That's exactly what that stuff does. We have natural oils that have antibacterial properties. They're naturally in our bodies, naturally in our skin. And when you use water, you're not cutting through those oils like you are in some kind of grease solvent like soap. Okay, so yes, and washing hands before you have a halakhic meal. You don't need to wash your hands before you have an apple, right? Or before you grab, your glass of tea, okay? Or water or whatever. But you do when you're sitting down to a meal, okay, wash your hands. And again, it's with the cup. There's no halakha saying you need to use soap when you wash your hands. In fact, most of us do not. Most of us, we get up and we take Netilat Yadayim, which is the ritual hand washing cup, and we wash with plain water. And that's it. And then, that's okay. As far as showering and bathing, this is before the mikvah. This is after. Okay, when do people need to use a mikvah? I'm going to say it, ladies. Sex is messy. sex is messy. I'm a certified Kala teacher. And one of the first things that blew my mind was that these up and coming kalots, the up and coming brides, are completely shocked. They are asking for hetters, for condoms from their rabbis because they think they are the only one in the world who's leaking semen from their vaginas after sex for up to maybe a few days after sex. Okay? They think that this is some abnormal, horrible thing, and they want to use a condom so that sex is clean. They don't like the feeling. They don't, okay. This is highly problematic. Highly problematic. Okay? The feeling of sex being wet, squishy, messy, those are sensual feelings. Those are feelings that we should learn to tune into, not push away from us. That's a part of the process of the binding between husband and wife, or making a child, or, you know, this is the nitty gritty. Now I'm going to move that towards sterility of seeds, right? Because I was just watching a farmer talk about how he went and purchased $30,000 worth of seeds for his corn or whatever it was that he was growing. And his seeds are genetically modified so that they are sterile. It used to be a farmer would purchase the seeds. It was that farmer's job to collect the seeds from the plants and replant them. And so it was ongoing. It was like, you know, if you have chickens, okay, you need a male and a female chicken in order to reproduce the chickens and have baby chickens. If you only have a female chicken, you're going to get eggs, but when those females die, there's not going to be any babies from those eggs, which is another question people ask me all the time. Okay. You know, we have lost basic understanding of needing a male and a female to create new life. And even in the plant world, a female plant and a male plant for pollination and this sort of thing. Not always, but you know, this is part of a lot of the different kingdoms, animal and otherwise. Okay, so these sterile seeds, again, it's a terrible problem. When we eat food, the food is nourishing. It's food that came from the ground, from our creator, to build up our bodies that were created by the creator. And when we eat sterile food from sterile seeds, how will that affect our reproductive systems? Do we become sterile? Might sound like a conspiracy theorist talking unless you go and look at the data. And the data shows you that in these recent generations, infertility in males and females has gone way, way up. Something is causing it, or maybe multiple somethings are causing it. But certainly we can't ignore the correlation between these creation of sterile seeds for our food and infertility increasing in our population. And then back to the chicken, the egg, and all of that. I wanted to get back to it when Chava was talking about the eggs. So Chava, now maybe you have different types of chicken. But when I get my eggs from my chicken, not always, but there's a 50-50 chance that those eggs are going to have poop on them. And I remember, you know, I was talking with other farmers and people who raise chickens, and they're going, oh my gosh, if you have poop on your eggs, that's a horrible sign. You know, it's not clean. Your coop isn't clean. You don't clean it well enough. They're pooping where they lay their eggs. They should never do that. And then I started talking with really old timer farmers, and they're going like, poop on the chicken's eggs? Yeah, that's what they do best. That's what they do best. So then I bring these eggs into my house. My husband, when he first saw the first batch of poop-laden eggs, he's like, we have to wash these. Let's wash them. In the fridge or on the counter. I'm like, if you wash them, you take off the bloom, because again, the creator didn't create something that like creates this health massive die-off of Hashem's creation. Like, the chickens lay eggs, and the eggs have something called a bloom, which is a clear covering, a coating on the egg before they poop on it. Because if you look at a chicken's anatomy, they only have one hole, the cloaca. Okay. and they poop out of that, and the poop and the pee is mixed together into one form, and they give eggs out of that same pool. And they have two kind of tubes, and when one goes out and protrudes a little from the hole, that's just the egg that goes out, and then that goes in, and the other one comes out, and that's just the feces. And they can't mix because of the anatomy of the chicken. Okay, so if there's poop on my egg, I know that the chicken laid the egg and then pooped. That came out separate. So I know the bloom was on the egg first. The bloom is protecting the egg from any poop or any things that could be getting in it. I don't need to wash those eggs. I have in my fridge right now, and they don't have to be in a fridge. They can be out on the counter, whatever, because they're farm fresh eggs. I just want to say that fresh eggs with the bloom on don't need to be in a fridge. Okay, but I do have mine in the fridge because it's where my kids won't knock them over. And that makes most sense for me. So I put them in the fridge and they have poop on them. They do. And I'm not concerned. And when it comes time to crack the egg, I could wash the poop off first if I wanted before I crack it, but I don't. I just find another part of the egg that doesn't have poop on it. I crack that part of the egg and the egg comes out and never touches the poop. And just like a chicken's anatomy, we're all good to go. And even if there was poop on my chicken, I'm not giving my chicken any, pharma or whatever. It's just natural poop and it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Right. Okay. Someone else can jump in. I took us from sex to seeds to poop on eggs.
I love it. That's life. It's messy.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mess. Sex is messy. Birth is messy. And death can be messy. And we are taught to fear and disconnect from each transition of those things. They are meant to be messy and they're meant to be human. So I just have a little story, something that just happened this week, so I'll throw it in there. Oh, and changing diapers. Yes, changing diapers. Very messy, but it's our children and it's okay. And it's during that time, if we are freaking out about what's coming out of the diaper and having to change it, and with the faces and what message are we giving to those babies? They're looking up at us with these big eyes, and this is what they see, that I'm ew and I'm yucky and I'm dirty, and they're too young to speak and even consciously understand what they're thinking. But these are the messages, and we don't want to do that. We want to raise our children to love their bodies, love this world, and not to fear like we have been taught for so long.
And so the cloth diapers, maybe the cloth diapers with that. People say, I don't want a cloth diaper. Oh my gosh, I would have to touch my own baby's poop. Ew. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I knew when my baby was coming down with an illness because the poop changed. I knew from handling my child's poop when they weren't eating or when they weren't eating enough. And it was like, oh, they haven't been eating enough or whatever it is. Like it's more breast milk poop now. I could gauge a lot of things by touching, because poop, even with disposable diapers, you are not supposed to put that in a trash. You're supposed to shake off the poop into a toilet. That was the law in America, from what I remember. You're supposed to shake off the feces into a toilet before disposing of the garbage of a disposable diaper into a garbage can. I never used disposable diapers, so I can't tell you about that. But I can tell you that I'm pretty sure no one who uses disposable diapers does that. They just change their baby, get rid of it, don't touch it, don't look at it, okay? And instead, for mothers like us who were using cloth diapers, we were able to gather a lot of information. We took the diaper under a sink and washed it under. And then when the poops were more solid, we sprayed them off with a bidet over a toilet. Take notes, everyone watching, because that's how you do it. And we were dealing with that. And then menstruation, the same thing. Menstrual pads, the tampons, the menstrual products, throw it away and whatever. No, if you're using cloth pads or menstrual cups or cloth external tampons or all of the many different reusable options that we have, you are handling your own blood. And it is so important for women because when you are handling your own blood, you might not think. I see clients and I ask them, tell me about your menstrual bleeding. Are you having clots? I don't know. When you're handling it yourself, you see, oh, I've got clots. Oh, they're about this side. Oh, this feels weird. Oh, this is a weird color clot in my clot. Oh, you can actually understand what's going on in your body, and your practitioner can help you solve things like infertility by having that data. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chava, but that's so important. But you had a recent story you wanted to share, I think, about death, maybe, possibly.
Well, it's along the same lines. It's exactly it. First of all, I just want to mention all of these things that we're talking about, if they are handled correctly and naturally without all this weird sterilization, it can be actually rinsed off and washed off into dirt. And then we are adding our own self into the remineralization of dirt where we want to grow our plants. It's really important. We, just before Pesach, we brought a shochet and we had him shecht our sheep. And last year we did a goat as well. And what happens is when they slit the throat, all the blood runs right into our own land. And as gross as that sounds, I am so grateful because it is the most bountiful area in our whole garden area. I mean, this is just like amazing stuff, just amazing. Not to mention all the brachot are poured over it, right, as this is happening. Anyway, so we talked about changing diapers. We talked about birth. Birth, when it is done correctly, whatever that might mean to someone, allowing it to be messy, allowing to be unsterilized. We are totally in connect. We are absolutely grounded with our instincts and our body's natural ability to give birth. And again, the message that you're giving your body and your new child when it's in a hospital or some other setting, completely sterile, completely sterilized. You don't even see the mess because they whisk it away very quickly. You're not allowed to just sit in the mess. And that's a huge thing because, again, total disconnect. No one wants to know about it, feel it, see it, smell it. But what have we lost when we did that? So the next part would be death. That one's a big one for me because I've been dealing with a lot of this lately. It's part of the cycle of life. It's part of me learning to let go. There's a huge lesson in being hands-on with death. It's not easy, but there's something so beautiful when you're right there and you're dealing with the messiness of death. Again, usually sterile, right? Someone will be in an old age home. They'll get the phone call, sorry, he passed. And that's the end of that. You go to the funeral. But what happened before that? So if the person, one of my best friends right now this week, her father passed, and they did nothing with hospitals. My best friend, his wife, her mother, did the entire transition at home. Literally, it's been, I think, a year that he's been at home, and it's a slow progression. It's not easy. First, he went, he's an older man, and then he went to bedridden, and you have to deal with changing and taking him, and it's messy. It's so hard, but they are 100 times enlightened and become these wise women because they were there, hands-on, watching him, helping him transition to the other side. What a mitzvah. Can you imagine? So at some point, they noticed that his breathing was getting shallower and he was functioning even less. They all gathered around him and sang and told stories and held his hand. And they're there for the messiness. There's still stuff coming out of him. But no one walked away. No one turned their head and said, I don't want to see that part. And they helped him pass. Literally, in the middle of a song, he took his last breath. And there's crying and but can you imagine how beautiful? Like, she's like, I was so scared of being there for that last breath. I didn't want to see it. I couldn't imagine my father taking his last breath and watching it happen. But here afterwards, she was like, I couldn't imagine it any other way. That was so beautiful and messy, but the worlds that opened up instead of just letting the hospital deal with it. The stress, the doctors coming in, the beeping lights. Oh my God, get him on a respirator, all just letting go. Let the mess happen. It's just so opening. And then your eyes have seen something completely that most people have really missed out on at this point. I had to do the same thing with my dog this week, the same exact day, actually. I had to let her pass. She was sick and whatever, but it was a mess. It was a mess. She'd been with us for 10 years and just in 1 week, she got sick and died. It was a mess, but I sat there, I hugged her, I let her go through her motions, and I was there when she passed. I mean, it's the most sad, heartbreaking, but I was with her her whole life, 10 years. And you just can't have it any other way. It's messy. It's sad. It's hard. But what are we meant to be here for, right? Life is never meant to be easy. It's never meant to be sterile. So we have to come back to this because we get so much more out of it. And we're able to give so much more. It's a mitzvah to engage in all of this. And the moment we let the disconnect get too far, again, we're going into AI, we're going into computers. This is no longer human. We need to stay human. There's my speech for the day.
Oh my gosh, Chava. Oh, like I was tearing up. It just felt so emotional for you, and just trying to imagine, your friend and taking your last breath with people holding your hands and singing. It's like, I want to say it's beautiful.
Right, exactly.
It's the way it should be. I think one of our biggest fears is dying alone. You ask most people. Yeah. And essentially what do we do to our elders is we relegate them to being alone and dying alone. So, and I'm so sorry about your dog, Chava. Oh.
Thank you. But yeah, so it just fitting to what we're talking about, because life is messy, but it's meant to be.
I feel like we have let ourselves be led into this matrix, if you will, where everything is taken care of. Don't worry, we got it. We'll take care of it for you, And you said two words which were like, boom, fear and disconnect. And that's what it's all about. Look at pads and tampons. Essentially, pads were cloth, and then they became disposable. And not 50 years later, they're ultra absorbent. So like Rivkah said, you don't even know how much you're bleeding. And not only that, you can get scented. Talk about disconnect. Like major disconnect. We don't smell bad. Not down there, not anywhere.
Right.
And the other thing is, it made me think also when Rivkah, you spoke about the cloth diapers and you see the poop, but smell. So I've used both cloth and disposable. The older disposable were not scented. So and they weren't ultra absorbent. And I've also used like a brand that is unbleached. So there's no ultra absorbent. In fact, they weren't very good at all. The cloth were better. But smell in the morning when your baby or toddler has been sleeping in a cloth diaper all night, you can smell when the urine is concentrated. They're not drinking enough. Maybe there's an ammonia smell. Maybe that, you know what I'm saying? So you are so much more connected and in tune with your own Bina, your own wisdom, and that of your family and your children. And when we talk about the messy of birth to death, cradle to grave, I think of Pirkei Avot. And there's a famous one, and I don't remember who said it, forgive me. And it says, remember, I'm going to say it in Hebrew and I'll translate. I don't remember the exact words. Mi ayin bata tipas rucha vela anata olech, meaning never forget where you came from. A drop of, semen, nothing. That's where you come from. And where you are going, to be consumed by the earth and maggots, if you will. So on the one hand, we're taught that we are each a spark of the godly divine and we have it in us. But lest our ego get ahead of us and we disconnect and succumb to the fear and let everything be taken care of, remember where you came from. You came from something messy. And guess what? Don't forget where you're going. It's messy. So I think that living that, even if we don't have a farm, in our lives is a really important way of connecting back to ourselves. I'm a birth worker, I'm a doula. And birth is messy. I had to, with my passion for birth, I had a really strong gag reflex. One thing nobody knows about me. Do we want to play the game? Yeah, I did. So I had to step inside my uncomfortable zone and to work through that, because that's life, and that's where beauty happens. And just disregard that and connect to the soul and connect to people. And so that only happens when we say, deep breath, step inside your uncomfortable zone and connect. And when you connect, it's so fulfilling and empowering.
Absolutely. While you were both talking, you know what, maybe I'll share this right now. Hang on. Okay. We get another video. This one's 40 seconds long. Just a minute. Here we go. Check out this new disposable pad from India. Not so new.
Periods are something that women can be proud of, but it raises many concerns too. Let's get rid of all the worries now. Introducing Choline, India's first graphene chip sanitary pad. The graphene chip increases the blood flow in the sides and relieves pain. It also provides 5 times extra absorption capacity. Choline's ultra slim design is more comfortable and breathable. It remains antibacterial even after long hours of usage. Choline, manufactured using toxin-free and leak-proof materials, provides protection from leakage and infections. With the new healthy Choline, let's face the periods. Choline, innovated for women's health.
Oh God, even hours after use, hours.
I put a link in the chat. If you heard her advertise these pads, you saying that they have graphene chips in them, that is exactly what she said. Check the link in the chat to look at that. Now you understand how easily we can be led down a road of infertility and sterility when we understand that our periods need to be sterile and the baby's poop needs to be sterile and birth needs to be sterile and death needs to be sterile and everything needs to be privatization, outsourced, specialized. Only the doctor can birth the baby. Only the doctor can take your loved one to death. Only the whatever, social worker, doctor, pharma, you name it. This is what we are being fed. And if we don't get our hands in the dirt and the mess of life now, we are going to be walked into holding graphene chips on our reproductive organs for 1 out of every 4 weeks, every month. Understand it. Understand that this is what we're facing. We're not just having a pleasant discussion about the messiness of life. We have to embrace the messiness now so we don't go down that road where we are being led right now. I know we're going to wrap up. We're just about on the hour, and then we can open it up for Q&A if everyone agrees. A story about a woman, an elderly woman who was with her family. I happened to witness this. She was in her 80s. Her children were in their 40s and 50s. She had grandchildren, married grandchildren. She was a matriarch of her family. She wasn't feeling well. The family was so incredibly incapable of caring for her that they went to a kitchen drawer in their kitchen. I watched it unfold. She said, I don't feel well. My stomach hurts. And they went to the kitchen and started pulling out half-used packages of pills, pharmaceutical drugs, with no labels, no expiration dates, nothing to say what they were, just their own memories of what it is. Okay, by the way, in herbal medicine, that's one of the first things we all teach as teachers. Label your preparations because you're never going to remember what they are, even if you think you will. You won't know their smell, even if you think you will. Things change. Okay. And they just started giving her different pills. And then someone suggested that she drink a shot of Ara to help her belly on top of this. And there was nothing, no understanding about how to care for an elderly relative. We laugh, but the reality is all of us are going to be that elderly relative one day. And it is our responsibility to teach the younger generation how to care for us. Because when you are blind or deaf or not, your memory isn't so with it and you don't remember what they put in your mouth, you need to trust that those people are making good decisions for you. And so her family around her gave her this combination of pharmaceuticals. They had no idea what they were, and Ara, and she started to vomit. This woman was wearing dentures, false teeth. And she first vomited and is vomiting out the teeth. And as soon as she started, I look around and her whole family ran out of the room. Her daughters, her sons, her grandchildren, everyone, the whole family ran out of the room. I went, found a bucket, ran up to a bowl or whatever I saw, the closest thing I could find. I went, I held it up to her mouth and I put my hand on her back and rubbed her back and, said, everything's going to be okay, and sat with her. A complete stranger. But let me tell you, complete strangers in the hospital, even though they're medical professionals, are not going to put a bucket up in front of your loved one and rub their back and tell them it's going to be okay. That is your job as the family member. We have a precept in Judaism that we don't throw away our elderly people to die. We don't throw them away. I think Gilla mentioned that. This is what we're talking about. So if you think that you can get away with walking this path and that you aren't responsible for educating the future generations, not just your own children, but the neighbors' children, the Ben Bayit who comes to your house, the neighbors, the everyone else, you have to model it, you have to show it, you have to demonstrate, you have to rattle off the common sense. We don't use pharmaceutical drugs, period. Or we don't use pharmaceutical drugs that don't have labels or expiration. We don't know what those are. You don't mix alcohol with pharmaceutical drugs. They are contraindicated. We say these things out loud because what used to be common sense is now common no longer. And and people don't have the sense any longer.
Do I have time to share a quick story?
Yes, please. And then we'll wrap up there.
Okay. So it's a personal story that happened to me. And I just remembered when Rivkah said, we need to teach our family how to take care of us. So a few weeks ago, I took my dog out. I live in South Florida, and I took him out back and I had him on the leash. And it's one of those leashes that you can lock or not, wasn't locked. And we have iguanas in the back, and our dog chases them into the canal. We live on a canal, and that's part of what animals do, and we encourage it, that's fine. So I was distracted, and I didn't realize, and he ran. You know, dogs can go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. And that's exactly what he did, except I was on the other end of the leash and I went flying and fell flat on the ground. So I was lying there crying and laughing at the same time because, you know, I was thinking the neighbors must, you know, be laughing. It was kind of, I'm sure, funny looking. I didn't feel funny. I was shocked. I hit my head, the side of my head, and my face and my chest. The air was knocked out of me. But I was okay. You know, when I realized I was okay, and one of my son with special need was around, he ran to call another sibling, but I called him back and said, I'm okay. I need help to get up. Give me a hand. So he did. And then I got myself into the house and, you know, I was a little shaken. My son was really collected and he brought the dog back in. And I'm laughing because all along I was laughing, even though I was shaken and I was in pain. And I had quite a bump on my head and I had a headache and I wasn't feeling so great. But I knew I was okay. And I had to, for the rest of the day, in a way, direct my kids on how to help me. So I helped myself and I did what I intuitively felt that I needed to do for myself. And I didn't think that I needed to call or have them call for an ambulance or take me to the ER. I had scrapes and bruises and bumps, which is what happens. However, in the evening or later in the afternoon, one of my sons came home and was very concerned that I am soon to be 60. I'm very happy to share, my granny. And that at my age, I should go and get my head checked out. So, you know, I joked, maybe I should get my head checked out, but just in general. And I said, I don't have signs of concussion. Yes, I was a little nauseous in the afternoon and my head hurt a bit, but I didn't even feel the need to take something herbal beyond what I took for calming and for aches and bruises and bumps. I used homeopathy. I used arnica. I wasn't feeling great. I had a huge fall, you know, but I didn't throw up. I'd already had 2 great big meals since then. I was up and about. I was very coherent. And I said, you know, let's call, one of my brothers is an EMT. He's a paramedic. Let's call him and let's go over on the phone. Let's go through the list of things. So also to empower them and to have everyone feel better about it. And so over the phone, he had them shine the flashlight in my eyes and do the basic checks, you know, and everything checked off, and we did it all together, and we joked in the middle as well. It was lots of fun. This was with 3 of my kids, my adult kids. And he said at the end, you know, sis, sorry to tell you, but I don't think you have concussion. And then he told my kids, you know, if she starts talking nonsense, you might want to take her in. But really what he was saying, if anything changes in her consciousness and she might not be aware of it, then you might be dealing with some concussion. And he said, as a professional, when I go to people when they're, you know, 55 and over, my job is to tell them to go and be checked out anyway, you know, and that is your choice. And I said, thank you very much. I will make my own choices. And I think it was so empowering. I was able to share with my kids what I did for myself, what I took, what I didn't. They can make me tea, what they can put in the tea, you know, things like that. And I didn't want them to think that I was just being stubborn and not taking care of myself. And at the same time, this was an opportunity for them to learn how we take care of mom in the future. Things might happen, and let's respect her. Let's use common sense. Let's learn what to do and how to do. And I felt so good myself afterwards because it was a learning opportunity and it was a bonding opportunity of real messy life. Life happens. I like to say shit happens. Forgive me, birth happens. And it's messy. It's never the way we like it in a package. And these are opportunities for ourselves to grow and those who are going to take care of us, hopefully one day.
Beautiful. Okay, I think we'll end here. I know that Lowell ran out, so I don't know if anybody wants to do a Q&A. It will probably be on the recording, which I typically am not a super huge fan of because I know people like their privacy when they ask questions. But if you'd like, we can open it up for Q&A, and if not, we'll see you all next month. Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
maybe I will stop my recording.